Evening, and yes, welcome to the Caribbean Weather Desk. This will be a very short and quick and sweet update, just updating on what's going on out there in the tropics as of tonight. And the main topics we'll be discussing tonight is Invest 92L. Hermine, which is still around, and we'll mention a few little other systems that are around. Nothing of those too imminent at the moment. So we'll start here first on Invest 92L, which you can see on your screen here. Just to give you a perspective of where exactly this is. There is Cuba right there in the top left. Jamaica also in the top left, south of Cuba. Hispaniola, Haiti, Dominican Republic here. Puerto Rico, the Leeward Islands, and the Windward Islands, Trinidad, Tobago, South America. And Invest 92L in particular, as of the latest update, has it at 50 north, 68.5 west. That would be located right about here. Looking at the actual data itself and the satellite, it would probably be a little bit further north, like maybe 15.5, 15.8 north, somewhere here about, might even be closer to 16 north, where we are awaiting the latest ASCAS imagery to know exactly for sure. But the winds surely in this northern half area is definitely producing wind and wind gusts up to tropical storm force. And so it is one that we're watching very closely. Generally, the track movement for the system is towards the west. Eventually should be taking it into Jamaica and also to the Cayman Islands, which, by the way, is where the Caribbean Weather Desk headquarters are. So just giving you an idea of the model tracks, generally as it is west to west northwestwards, taking Jamaica, Cayman Islands, eventually maybe Yucatan Channel or western tip of Cuba. It's a wait and see games. The models are kind of iffy up and iffy down and a little bit left and right. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully we can get a recon aircraft in there to help determine exactly what is indeed going on. As you can see here, this is the previous track for the system. Let me see if I can probably update this a little because this was from the previous advisory.
And while you do that, Adam, just calling in, welcome to Crime 57 and Storm Chaser 75. It's good to see you here. Angel, you too, from Puerto Rico. Welcome aboard. But to our viewers and currently in the chat room and those that will view the video. The video will come up on the channel in a couple of hours. You will be able to replay by remaining on this channel. What we are planning to do is this is going to be a short session, but we will be looking at a longer one in probably Adam, about 15 hours from now.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
So as I said, it's good to see those here in the chat room, and my name's David Tones. I'm here on the east coast of Australia, Adam is based the Cayman Islands. Looks like he's under a developing threat. So, Adam, back to you, mate.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, David. So yeah, here is the previous track of the storm. If we were to go back, the system started out in Africa, it crossed over. It came off pretty far north, and then kind of weakened out a bit. National Hurricane Center kind of stopped tracking it. However, the track continued across the Cape Verde Islands and eventually started shifting west-southwest. Eventually, it started reorganizing, getting better organized, and started firing off some thunderstorms. Thus, the National Hurricane Center is starting to retrack 92L. And, it came across the Caribbean and now is located just about 200 miles or so southeast of Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, which is right about here. And so the system is here. It's moving out to the west at a slightly slower speed than earlier this last few days. You can see 16 miles per hour, more or less, which is a lot slower than the 20 and 30 odd mile an hour that the system was traveling at one point. I think at one point it was traveling something like 46 miles per hour. Some ridiculous amount. And usually you don't really see storms developing much until it slows down. Usually what happens is that if you don't have a invest developing into a tropical system within this area here, just east of the Caribbean, you usually don't see it actually start to develop till it reaches around this area here, which is where 90 is just getting into, and that's usually because of the difference in the trade wind flows coming across through the Atlantic and then coming across through the Caribbean, and that usually causes development not to really occur in this area. This area of the Eastern Caribbean is also known as the dead zone, where you hardly find storms actually developing in this area here. So now that it's getting out of the dead zone and it's getting into more of the active zone, we'd be watching the system very closely. Now, in terms of the other aspects to it to be watching is, for example, the dry air, wind shear, whatever. And as you can see here on the latest wind shear graphic provided by the University of Wisconsin CIMMYST site, you could see that the system has a very well decent upper level anticyclone, providing very decent outflow as well as low wind shear, 5 to 10 knots over the system, more or less. Well, the system's actual center is a little bit west of the upper level anticyclone, just awaiting the new updated chart, should push us a bit further west. As you can see, there is a band of higher shear to the west. However, it's in relation to the upper level low trough, which is weakening and also pushing off to the west and west-northwest. This band of higher shear is also moving towards the west and should pretty much stay out of the way of the system, more or less, especially if it slows down. As the system slows down, it becomes more stacked underneath this up-level anticyclone and farther away from the shear. So I guess you could say that's a good thing for development. So we'll be watching very closely as it moves westwards towards Jamaica and obviously to my area, and then possibly becoming a threat for somewhere along the Gulf Coast as we get through the rest of this weekend, maybe into sometime during the early to mid part of next week. We do have a lot of time to watch, and we'll see what ends up happening. So the other system that's out there, system that we're keeping another close eye on, is of course Hermine. And as you can see, Hermine doesn't really look as the big hurricane problem for the east coast of the United States as it was a couple of days ago. However, the system is indeed looking a bit better than what it was only earlier today. Um, System is starting to get a little bit more tropical. As we knew, the system became post-tropical, and there is still a chance of it possibly gaining some tropical characteristics, maybe subtropical. But anyway, either way, the system is expected to move even closer to the coast, maybe, just maybe, end up making landfall somewhere from New Jersey to Rhode Island, somewhere along here, and then eventually kicking out northeastwards. We'll have to be watch the system closely. There's already tropical storm force winds occurring off of Massachusetts, Cape Cod, Rhode Island, parts of Connecticut, parts of Long Island, and just almost reaching New Jersey area. We'll have to be watching this closely, especially with the storm surge threat, and as well as if the convective activity could increase some more, and of course the system regaining its tropical characteristics. Also watching out for heavier rainfall with the gustier winds and the storm surge. So let's just have a closer look at the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. It has indeed shifted further west. They're currently keeping it as a post-tropical because of how unsure the system is. It is moving west-northwest, which is a bit of an odd change. Before, they were expecting it to just move northwest and then northeast, but that seems to be no longer the case. Kind of a west to west-northwest movement, and then eventually northeast. I think what's going to end up happening is that you're going to see the cone continue to shift on westwards as it continues. It could still pull off eastwards, but it's an interesting situation that we're watching closely. No matter if it's tropical or post-tropical or subtropical, and even if it gets a little bit close to the coast, but not fully onto the coast, tropical storm conditions are expected across a good portion of these areas. I do expect the tropical storm warnings to be reissued for the rest of Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Long Island. As I'm about to show you here with the wind field graphic. So pardon the track. There's a little bit of an error with the track itself, past track. But overall, in terms of the wind field of the system, as you can see, parts of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, well, pretty much all of Rhode Island, Connecticut, and most of Long Island is having those tropical storm force winds. And as the system pushes more west, northwest, obviously you would expect these conditions to increase over the area for New Jersey, Long Island, New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, as well as Rhode Island. As I said, if the system does indeed make landfall anywhere along these areas, of course, expect higher impacts. If this system indeed re-intensifies and reorganizes back into a subtropical or tropical, it'll have to be watched for further intensification, possibly even reaching back to hurricane intensity. So we're watching that very, very closely as we go through tonight, tomorrow, and of course going through Wednesday as well. So we'll definitely keep you up to date on that as it happens. And of course, in terms of 92L, we'll also keep you informed on what's going on with this system. I just want to also point out with 92L, is the interesting thing with the buildup of convection at this time of night. Current local time is 11:14 p.m. And the interesting thing is that we're in the diurnal minimum phase, which would invoke lessening convective activity. It's usually a night-day cycle during diurnal maximum, which is at sunrise. You would expect increase in convection, and of course, by sunset, decrease in convective activity. Now, with it being 11:14 p.m., diurnal maximum phase doesn't actually start till about midnight-ish, and then peaks at sunrise. Uh, with convective activity already popping off now, and it's not even the start of the diurnal maximum or Dmax. It'll be interesting to see how this system handles itself overnight and into tomorrow. I would expect a lot more convective activity blowing up. Estimated center of the system, I think I did state, was at 15 north, 68.5. And as I stated before, I think it's a little further north. I'd expect the convective activity to cover the center and, of course, enhance it. And, of course, if the center is still slightly open, it'll help to close off the center. And just a reminder, for a tropical storm, what we need is tropical storm force winds, convection over the center, as well as a closed low-level center. So there's not really much to it to stop it from becoming a tropical storm. We just have to watch it overnight as it moves through. I expect it to be around Jamaica by about maybe Wednesday or so, maybe down into my area here in the Cayman Islands about Thursday, Friday, maybe going into early weekend, especially as this thing is starting to slow down. Maybe the timings for it a little bit later, Wednesday, Thursday for Jamaica, and Friday, Saturday for the Cayman Islands, and then eventually, as I said, early to midweek, it should end up somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico. So this is pretty much it for me. Just also, before I do end this, just to let you guys know what else is going on out there. There is an area of interest out in the Atlantic that is being looked after. There is a tropical low that is out here. Currently, the National Hurricane Center is giving it a low chance and doesn't really have an X on it or anything just yet. But it's something to keep an eye out in the longer range. And of course, 92L here that has the yellow X on it, being watched by the National Hurricane Center, Hermine, as well as recently upgraded Hurricane Newton. Mind you, this storm wasn't really expected to become a hurricane, but has indeed became a hurricane, and not only that, but rapidly strengthened to a 90-mile-an-hour hurricane. This hurricane is expected to head across the Baja California Peninsula, and of course, hurricane warnings and watches issued, as well as tropical storm warnings and watches. This is the general forecast track for it, expected to make landfall within 24 hours or so. Maybe some weakening, just depending on how quickly the storm moves, and as well as how much more strengthening it does do. Expected to make landfall in Mexico, about Wednesday morning time frame, and eventually weakening off to a remnant low by the time we head into late Wednesday. Of course, definitely worried about the rainfall threat for the southwest United States. Of course, they throw this thing into Arizona, and then obviously taking it up through. So it's one that we'll be watching as well. Not really a Caribbean or Atlantic threat, but it is definitely a threat towards Mexico and the southwest United States. So we'll just do maybe a few updates on that. Don't really expect too much rapid strengthening with the system. Might get up to 100 miles an hour, but that's about it. Luckily for that area, population is not too incredibly high, and it's not really. Even if it does, the land area is quite high and should break up the system pretty easily after landfall. So other than that, that's pretty much it. As David said, we'll be back for another update, a much more longer and detailed update on what's going on with 92L, Hermine, as well as, the system out in the Atlantic, and as well as Hurricane Newton. And that would be in about maybe 15 or so hours' time. So, yeah, this is a nice little quick short update from me here in the Cayman Islands. Thank you for watching, and as well, David Tones on the east coast of Australia. So, that's pretty much it for us. And good night.
Just before we sign off, there's a little bit of activity in the chat room. Adam, we have Right Shadow Videos JA. He's down there in Jamaica, and he's posted a question: will it be a storm by the time it is by Jamaica? And Jason, our technical person over on the west coast of Australia, he's also posted. Jason says, I expect no more than a tropical depression by the time it is in the vicinity of Jamaica, then a tropical storm the closer it nears the Gulf. Then we have one for Julio, then a hurricane on the Gulf, and a further one for White Shadow. He'll be driving across the country Wednesday. And a further comment, I think it's going to surprise some people, as I've had a gut feeling about this storm. So just recapping, this is a very short update. We will have a extended one tomorrow. We appreciate the communication. Before I hand it back to Adam, Force 13 operates on the Facebook. We have a few accounts on the Twitter platform. There are ways that you can get in contact with us. You can visit our main website. On the top right hand side is the Skype icon. Click on that and it opens you to a page. After that page, it will bring up the link to the Skype. So on behalf of others within the team, it's always good to be involved in the live broadcasting of some very interesting content systems that are coming on the radar. So Adam, back to you.
Yes, and I do want to thank our viewers for the comments, and it also reminds me to mention that with this area in the Caribbean, things do tend to ramp up pretty quickly, especially as we get closer to Jamaica and into the Northwest Caribbean. I didn't have the graphic on hand at the moment, but I do also want to mention that besides the high sea surface temperatures that is across the Caribbean, basically south of San Domingo, Haiti, and moving westwards throughout the whole Northwest Caribbean. But there's also very high ocean heat content, which would also help to enhance development of this system. To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if this thing does indeed ramp up to tropical storm by the time it hits near Jamaica, and maybe ramping up to a hurricane in the northwest Caribbean, and possibly stronger in the Gulf of Mexico. At the moment, it's a bit too early to say exactly for sure. I would suggest for people in Jamaica, as well as the Cayman Islands, Cuba, Yucatan, as well as for Hispaniola, to prepare for a storm. Just in case if things do tend to ramp up. As we know storms to do in these areas. Prepare for a storm, or prepare for a hurricane, and just even if it just remains as a tropical depression or a tropical storm through these areas here. Prepare for it either way, because you never know what you might end up getting. If we could remember back in, I think it was 2005, Hurricane Wilma, actually I think broke a record one time for rapid intensification. I think became from a tropical depression to a Cat 5 hurricane in about a little less than a day, or something like that. And it happened in the Northwest Caribbean, and with very similar ocean heat content and sea surface temperatures, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if something like that ends up happening. At the moment, I'm definitely not looking for a Category 5 or Category 4 or Category 3 hurricane in the Northwest Caribbean, but to be honest, anything is possible. As I stated, the shear is moving out. The upper-level cyclone is helping to build. As you can see, convection already starting to blow up. I usually think of it as the 68, 69, 70 degree line is where that magic marker is. This invisible magic marker for storms that, if they don't develop before the Eastern Caribbean, they won't develop in the Eastern Caribbean, but they'll start taking off and really taking off from Central Caribbean around the 70 degree line. So either way, I do expect warnings, flash floods, and of course gale warnings to be issued for Central Caribbean and for Jamaica. And depending on how things go overnight and tomorrow, we might even end up with a tropical depression or a tropical storm somewhere near about here. And of course, tropical storm warnings, etc., issued for Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Cuba, Yucatan, whatever it may be. So, just keep an eye on it, and I'll definitely give you an update tomorrow on what the situation is. And that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say now. So.